The man to revolutionize the EV two-wheeler market. Welcome Shrikant Reddy. One advice to first-time founders.
Before you have to start something, you need to work. You need to understand what goes into forming a business.
How much of your own capital?
Me and other co-founders, 2.2 crores. And then in March 2022, we raised our first pre-seed round, which is 3.6 crore. And many startups die because they don't have that fund for the survival. And today we are sitting talking here about the Series A closure. I truly think that, we're privileged. We have that kind of a support. That's why we could come to this point at least.
Do you think in the next 5 to 7 years we will still be majorly dependent on China for our raw materials?
I believe we still will on China.
From a tech background to running an operationally driven electric two-wheeler mobility company, meet Shrikant Reddy, the founder of Hala Mobility. In this episode, you will learn how Shrikant became profitable from making 60 lakh rupees monthly loss. How giving and taking care of its riders is the most important part about this business, and his scaling up plans to 15,000 vehicles in the next 6 months. Shrikant is a very, very humble fellow, and he flew down specially from Hyderabad to do this podcast with us. I'm eternally grateful to him. I love the product. I love the tech integration part of it. I see this company becoming a massive, massive company over the next 5 years in the electric mobility space. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Shrikant Reddy only on Level Up. Enjoy this episode. To Level Up Podcast Season 2, where our purpose is to help India's youth become smarter and better individuals by sharing successful stories of founders. To help us achieve this purpose, please do subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell below so that we can make more such videos and this video can reach maximum people. The man to revolutionize the EV two-wheeler market. Welcome Shrikant Reddy. Thanks a lot, first of all, for coming from Hyderabad for this podcast. It means a lot that you took this time out specifically for this podcast, and then you got your other schedule arranged as you spoke. But thank you. I think I read about Hala and the fundraise that you guys did, and I was really interested to know about this electric vehicle market, and hence immediately I messaged Rohan to connect me to you, and thank you for immediately agreeing to do this and booking your flight straight away. How are you doing today? How was your flight? What's up?
Firstly, thanks Dave for having me here. Wonderful journey. Although the similar way whenever I walk into Mumbai, it's a energy. The financial hub. Yeah. First, thanks again to having me here, and pretty packed up day after this as well, and looking forward.
Wonderful. Glad to have you. I'm really very excited to understand about the electric vehicle market and what you guys are doing at Hala and stuff like that. But before that, I want to understand about what we were talking just before this, your PhD and stuff like that, how it happened. But I want to understand a little bit from the start. How your early days were. Where were you born? Where were you brought up? Because I understand you are a big techie. Mm-hmm. And you've studied in Spain, done a PhD and stuff like that, which probably I could just think of or dream of, but humse na ho paye. But would love to know your story and your pre-Hala days. I think Hala has been 4 years or something.
4 years
that you've
now.
started, 4-5 years.
This 27th.
So before your pre-Hala days, what were you doing? How did your entire journey start? Tell me something from the scratch, from your childhood.
I'm brought up from Hyderabad, and I finished my bachelor's there. So before Hala, if you ask me, I was into music as a music producer. I was a DJ. I used to play for Sunburn, Supersonic. I played around the Europe region for the.
Did you have that long hair and all that?
No,
stuff,
no,
funky stuff.
Not the funky side of it, because I'm just underground music player. So yeah, I did that quite from 11th, 12th onwards. Till my engineering.
11, 12 standard, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then till the engineering. Post that, I started working for Google Maps, Facebook, for the Facebook beta through Cognizant. And it's a 24-month journey. That's where I found my co-founder, Mr. Snehit.
Okay.
And he was my manager there. And he was the one who pushed me to go abroad, study and come back. Let's start a business together. Why do we have to do? So his intention was always like, before you have to start something, you need to work. You need to understand what goes into forming a business, correct? So And also, I had a 26 months good journey. He has 5 years old journey. And then I moved abroad to do my first master's, master's in big data machine learning from the University of Padua in Italy. And second year, I got a grant. University moved me to Madrid, and it's a University of Polytechnica Madrid where I actually did my second master's in telecommunication. Further, I extended for the PhD, where today I finished my urban shared mobility ka thesis. While doing the doctoral degree is where I started working with Chippy, and it's a mobility.
Chippy is what?
It's a mobility aggregator platform.
This is in Spain.
It's in Spain.
Okay.
And then from there, I
And
completed.
this you are talking about which year?
It's in 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I completely took an exit, moved back to India. Basically, while I was building certain.
So just before you continue further, I want to talk about Chipley.
Uh-huh.
This was your company. You were building, or
No,
you worked
so they were other co-founders. I just joined them at
as
a
a
very early
co-founder.
stage. Yes.
As a tech co-founder.
As a
if I can-
data side of it, the chief data architect.
the chief data architect, but you were a co-founder.
Correct.
And how old was that company when you joined? It was already a matured company or something like that, or
6,
what?
7 months old.
Acha, very early stage.
Very early.
Okay. And then till where did you build it, and when did you get the exit?
So, exit after we built a product for Hispano Suiza, and it was in 2019 Geneva Car Expo, and by that time I was almost finishing my PhD, and it was November sometime. I completely took an exit. By then I think they have already raised Series A.
So you took an exit when they had already
I had a very
done that.
minority share.
When they did their Series A, you
Correct.
took an exit.
Correct.
Okay, got it. And that would be a span of 12 months, 14 months, what?
24.
24 months.
Yeah,
you
because
were there.
2017 is sometime I joined.
Okay.
And I joined there as an intern,
Huh.
and it moved to a full-time thing,
Co-founder.
to
kind of.
having a stake, and
Wow.
to diluting it, and to coming back.
Explain me something. Is there a culture before we move after your post Chippy journey? I want to understand about the European culture of startups also, right? When you were there in Spain and you were working at Chipley, this quick transition from joining as an intern and then moving into a full time, then moving into a co-founder plus some stake. Is that a culture in Europe or something? Because I don't see that very often in Indian startups.
Yes.
So what is this difference? Can you highlight something?
I think it is still there in the Indian mindsets also.
But within 2 years?
Again, it depends on with whom you are working, what is their mindset, correct? So today, I have my entire core team from my, engineering times, or my childhood times, correct? So it depends on the individual on how they are gauging someone else, right? Just like how we were having a discussion, I am not from one of the top tier 1 universities. It can be IIT or it can be an IIM, correct? So now, how do I expect someone to be on board from an IIT only? Someone else is talented, but he is not placed in certain universities. So if I gauge that person well, if he's able to solve the problem for me, and I'm up for it, if he's able to hustle with me the same way, then why not incentivize
You have
with
to
a little stake?
closely analyze whether that person has that mindset that
Correct.
okay, he can
A founder's mindset, a growth mindset, a hustle nature. Hustle again doesn't mean like you work for 18 hours, 20 hours a day. It's about just go crack the problem, finish. At the end of the day, that's what is needed, correct? And more of these forces are joined together, and that's when you actually build the right product. That's my mindset again. And now, if I'm able to do that, if that person is also able to do that, his help or his work is able to bring me a lot of revenue, why not incentivize with him with a very little stake, and this kind of a culture, at least I saw there a lot in the incubations that we are part of, in the companies that they are looking at, because in the universities are not the way we study here, at least, right? At the tier 2, tier 3 levels, there is a tribunal where you have to go. It's a judge. You have to desert your thesis, and you have to give all your evidences, proofs on what you have done, and there are like scholars, researchers sitting there questioning you, correct? So all these professors or all these scholars have already working with a lot of other the brains, where these brains are another startups for themselves. So the culture itself is coming from the universities, the schools they've studied in. And here, I think now every university is coming up with the same kind of a structure, right? Now, every university or every incubation centers. So I think that kind of a mindset will slowly and slowly come. It's not about how much equity you are giving today or what kind of a title you are giving to someone. It's not a title merely; it's a responsibility, correct? And it's not a equity, but you are actually sharing or giving certain wealth to him when you are creating it together. So I think that is a mindset we need to carry.
How much percentage stake you got there? And
3%.
3%.
Yes. But I
But
got
that,
good money when
how much was that?
around like 3.5, 4 crores.
Wow, very good.
But it's in 2 years.
Yeah, that's a
Wonderful money, right?
wonderful
I
money.
could
If you
start
come
something
back to
here
India, it's wonderful money.
and I could start something,
yeah.
correct?
Hmm.
The good thing about moving there and starting something was I did not go with any of education loans. I hardly moved out with 2.5 lakh rupees of money. My first masters was with a fully scholarship, and I used to get 10,000 euros as money to have in my pockets for my expenses after the college fees, after the hostel fees, after the food. And the hostels are not like normal ones, they're like really another 3-star properties. And the moment they sent me to Madrid, again, it was the college was taken care of, the food stay was taken care of. We were given with studios and studio apartments, and then
So you had a good life there.
yeah, like
Plus, you got 4 crores after
and then
selling.
whatever I earned, because the culture there is you study in the morning, work in the afternoon for sure, and there are credits for all those works. It's not another internship. It's kind of a full-time role that you have to do. You earn, you get the credits here also. So I had money. Where will I spend that? And another earning. So it all worked in my favor, I think.
Yeah, and you got to hone your skills very well, right? About the tech and the data learning stuff, data machine learning and stuff like that, what you were doing. Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Then
think
you came back to India in 2019 or 20.
2020. I was moved
2020
back to
during
India.
COVID, that is.
Yeah, Vande
Okay.
Bharat mission. I have to request ambassador to give me one
Oh,
seat.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was 2020 January, the last trip. Along with my friends Dev and Anubha, I went to Amsterdam, and the day when we came back, which was 14th of January 2020, it was lockdown in Madrid. And after that, we all stayed in the same flat, cooked our food, everything. And I think it was March or sometime, the March 22nd, I remember. All the flights were completely cancelled from India side. And we were like, मिल जाएगा कहीं ना कहीं ऐसे ही बोलते रहते हैं. But then it went on to May. And when we put our last request on June 30th is when I got the flight back to India. I stayed in Taj Lansing here only, quarantined. And on 1st of July, I went back to Hyderabad. And I did not know there was a process of e-pass. And I was like, boss, I have my Aadhaar, I have my driving license, voter, PAN, and everything. And now what is this
What is the
e-pass?
C-Pass? Yeah.
Oh, it was a crazy time.
Okay. Then tell me after that what happened then. So
So
how did
it was just me and Snehit till then.
Hmm.
And I could loop in all my core team members, which is Mahesh, Mohit, Prem. So basically, I was sure that Mohit and others would solve certain problems for our thing. And that's how I reached out to them saying that, hey, I moved back, we started this. And we took a duplex apartment where I wanted to stay far away from the home and then, start doing this. So we parked our first 20 vehicles in the cellar, used to work in the down floor, stay upstairs. Let's get this started. And our first set of 2 vehicles started on November 27, 2020 with the first partnership with Ferns and Petals. And the moment we started the show with Ferns and Petal, and slowly Big Basket kind of came on board. And from there to now, Big Basket is there with us. From that 2 people, today we are at almost 600.
600 people you are right now
Yeah, with the delivery folks.
with the delivery folks? Okay. Interesting.
And like that, Big Basket kind of partnerships gave us almost 35 plus today. Like mom and pop stores of around the Kiranas, around the big retailers like Subways, big retailers like McD's, Burger Kings. And today we have, if I can name Zomato, Swiggy's, and all of them.
Tell me something. Why, from a tech kind of a background, doing machine learning, and completely into this operation-driven business, which is electric vehicle, which is again very, in a, for a lack of word, it's a sexy business being in EV, but actually it is non-sexy because you get into operations and fleet and stuff like that, human driven, manpower driven, on ground manpower driven, to be more specific. Why from there to here? Like what made you think that, okay, I don't want to build a software, I don't want to build something into, like a machine learning or something, AI driven app or platform or something, I want to get into EV. How?
So the first thing was, the initial idea was to just build a platform, build that intelligence layer for the Indian mobility landscape, because Indian mobility landscape was completely fragmented. There is public transit, there is metro, there is buses, there is ride hailing, there is car sharing, bike sharing, and everything. But then none of them are cohesive, none of them are interlinked. If I have to go from point A to point B, I don't know what all are connected. Correct? That's what we wanted to do as a first phase of the action. And then, based leveraging all this information, we wanted to give analytics for new infra developers. Okay, it can be another charge point operators, it can be another battery swapping company, another fleet operator. Where do they operate? What pockets would work for them to start their first pilots, rather than spending monies by sending people on the ground, which is not scientifically proven. So that was the whole idea. But then when we went to a couple of companies, when we pitched this idea, none of them were like, okay with the thought process what we were coming to. So it was not a market product fit, correct? And then I think then is when we realized, I think it's high time for us, instead of waiting for a customer, let's create a customer base. If it was that easy for someone to build that intelligence layer, everyone could have built, correct? And with having such a huge fleet. But why were they still doing it? It was still a real problem, but none wanted to share their data. And sharing data means here data privacy and everything comes into picture. But again, data privacy is a myth. Data is out there.
Yeah.
And
it's already being seen by everyone.
Exactly. And
so I don't know why
so
there's
they were
so
not
much
really
fuss.
ready
Yeah.
to give. And we're like, why do we have to wait for certain customer? Let's build our own customer base. The first 200 vehicles with our own investment of 2.2 crores, we started building this operations backward. We took that long haul. So if someone have to trust our product, then let's build that and show it. Then someone would come. So it started with 20 vehicles. Slowly we grew to 200 vehicles with our own capital, no financier, no banker, nothing. And it was kind of a leap of faith that we took.
But when you say you started, you no capital, no finance, etc. These were owned vehicles.
Owned vehicles, our own capital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So till 200 vehicles, it was your own capital that you were putting.
It's mine, Snehit's, and Anand's money, which went into the company, the 2.2 crore rupees.
Total investment
Total
from the
investment.
founders.
Yes.
Initial level. Bootstrapping, yeah.
Correct. And we brought 200 vehicles. It was like, ये गाड़ियाँ चलेंगे और चलाएंगे.
Because no one was partnering up with you, okay, we will give you our vehicles. We have already manufactured. You take our vehicles, white label them, whatever you want to do, and you aggregate it or sell it to your customers like Zomato, BigBasket.
Correct.
So at that stage, no one was willing to do that with you. You are trying to say that, okay, because it was initial, no one knew you guys and stuff like that.
I was new to the industry here.
And plus, no background about EV, nothing.
Correct.
For you or your other co-founders,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so
we
hence
did not, and at that time there was no scope of getting EV financed by a banker, or no NBFCs looking at this particular space.
Yeah.
It was very early.
Yeah.
And we were like, we either have to wait for certain time, and it will be too late. So instead, we started building this.
Okay, so your initial 200 vehicles were purchased by putting in 2.5 crores into the vehicles, into the two-wheelers, which you started leasing it out to all these BigBasket and all these people.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And then the moment we started doing this at every leg, the moment we were showing certain results to all the financiers, then is when, okay, this makes sense. I'm able to reduce down my NPA. I'm now able to reuse my vehicle and give it back to some other customer, but still gaining my 21%, 24% IRR on the capital that I infused. So all these things happened, and slowly financiers came on board. Slowly manufacturers started coming on board. Slowly, the bankers started coming on board. And from that 200 to the next 2,200, we did not spend any capital. Rather, we paid the deposits, to get those vehicles on board. And after 2,200, we completely got into an aggregation stage where there are players already there in the market. They have additional inventory, and They were not still looking at the technology. Hey, I have a crore rupee, I get 100 vehicles, let me run the show. The moment dealing with assets to 100, 200, 300, it's all fine. You can run it on, spreadsheets. But the moment it goes beyond that 300, and moment you have a lot of moving parts in one asset, a charger, a battery, a scooter, and that scooter coming with two batteries, then it's another issue that you have to deal with. So then the technology comes into place on how you're trying to automate it, right? How you're able to track, trace, monitor, control everything. And then people started understanding use of this technology now. And now people were like, okay, I'll give you a set of fleet, run that, give it to me. Now what happened for him? The utilization increased. His visibility increased without marketing spends.
So the fleet is run on their marketing.
No, no.
I mean, on their brand name, or it
On
is
their brand
Hala's
name, on the brand name, yes. It's not, none of them are stickered with Hala fleet or anything. After 2,200 vehicles, none of the vehicles have Hala sticker. So it's your brand, it's your product, it's your company, it's your profit. 0% commission.
We'll come to that how do you make money actually in this particular process? If 0% commission, then how do you make money? We'll come to that. Before that, explain me about this EV market in India. I'm really keen to understand, and I believe all the viewers would be very much keen to understand about electric vehicle, more specifically two-wheeler market, right? Because you're dealing in two-wheelers. So let's talk about that, how the market has grown over the last 5 to 7 years. Because EV has been the talk of the town over the last 4 5 years, and a sun-rising sector, and so on and so forth. Explain me something about what is happening today, and how things are moving forward. What do you feel where the EV market will go in the next 10 years?
See, with the advent of quick commerce, e-commerce, hyperlocal, e-pharma segments, one business, if you have to name, if it is pandemic proof, is the last mile delivery, right? Now, on the other hand, if you have to look at it,
When you say last mile delivery, sorry, I'm interrupting you again, but let's try to break it down for the audience also. When you say last mile delivery, what do you mean by it?
so a product coming from a restaurant to your home, a pharma medical store to your home, or a kirana to your home.
Anything that comes to the home, that last
The last leg
the
of a
last
journey.
leg of the journey of
So
of the
basically,
delivery
if you
journey.
have to look at the entire piece, there is a manufacturing unit, and from there the completely manufactured good moves out. That's the first leg, and it moves to the warehouse. From that warehouse to your state, where it comes, is the middle leg, and from that warehouse it moves to the distribution network, and from that distribution network that comes to your home is the last leg. That's a last mile delivery.
Okay, got it. I think that makes it very
And
simplified.
even if you look at the last mile connectivity, because this another word which we're going to use there is you're going from point A to point B. You started from your home, and the last point you dropped, you got down from a metro station or something. From there, you need to go to your office. That's a last leg, and that's a last mile connectivity.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, yeah, coming back to the market you were talking about.
Yeah. So on the other side, if you look at it, out of the 9 out of top 10 polluted cities in the world, at least 9 or 7 would come from Indian country, and that's why government and everyone is pushing towards move towards alternative way of movement. Today, if you go to the cities like Delhi NCR or Bangalore, every one of us are choking with the pollution, right? And I'm sure that's started here in Mumbai as well.
Yeah. Today only I read, or my mom just told me that in Delhi, schools are now shut for up to fifth standard students because of the pollution. That they are not allowed to get out and stuff like that.
One is on the growth side of the industry itself, and the other side is the pollution levels in the country. The only way is to create an alternate way of utilizing the fuel, right? It is not a
Alternate energy.
alternate energy. It can be electric, it can be hydrogen, it can be sodium ion, whatever you name it. So that's where the demand is coming. And now the low hanging fruit is one, people movement and goods movement cannot stop, correct? And that means there is the first pollutant in the world or in the country today, 40% or 44% comes towards the last mile connectivity, last mile mobility. So now if this low hanging fruit is decarbonized, then there is a good chance of reducing down the pollution.
Can it be 100% decarbonized in India at least?
100% of the last mile connectivity you're saying, it is possible, but again the requirement to convert that is 2.6 million two-wheelers in the last mile delivery space.
Okay, this also decarbonizing, you're just talking about two-wheelers.
Two-wheelers.
Four-wheelers to
There are
alag.
four-wheelers, mid-mile, the
Buses,
first mile. That's a different story again.
So two-wheeler last mile delivery to convert or to decarbonize them.
Is
There are
2.6 million
2.6
two-wheelers.
million
And
two-wheeler
as of now, as on date as we speak, and the numbers which I'm quoting are the statistics released by the think tanks of India. And within the next 6 years, these numbers are going to grow 10 folds, which is to 26, 27 million. By the time you convert this 10% converted market to 100% itself and to move to 27 million, which is almost 100 times now, look at this, look at the quantum of monies that have to flow into this particular industry, number of players that are going to emerge in this particular industry, and the problem that that needs to be solved cannot be done by 1, 2, 3 players. And that's where we always saw an opportunity that aggregation is the way to go. There will be individual players. We're talking about 26 million. The biggest fleet operator in the world today has around 48, 50,000 vehicles that someone can control. Right? And in the two-wheeler space that I'm talking about. And now we're talking about 26, 27 million. So imagine how many number of players.
So there are 26, 27 million or will be over the next 5 years, right? Currently there are 2.6.
Yes.
You said. But over the next
10, 15% is what is already converted.
So over the next 5 to 7 years with the growth rate, as you said, there could be 26 million two-wheeler vehicle in the market.
Yes.
In India.
In India.
Which are focusing just last mile.
Correct.
Or which is including the retail customers and normal people.
No.
This is only last mile delivery
the last
vehicles.
mile delivery or the last mile
Two-wheeler
connectivity
vehicles.
workers. Correct.
Okay, and these are typically done on, of course, your petrol or
Activas, Dios,
Activas and stuff like that. Okay, so to convert that, the largest player today in India, you're talking about, right?
No, globally.
But in India, how many vehicles? Who's the largest player and how many vehicles does he have?
Today, if you look at the micro mobility, I'm sure it's Yulu. And if it is last mile delivery, then it is Zip. And there are also a couple of others in the leasing space who hold around 6 to 7,000 number of vehicles.
But out of 2.6 right now, only how many vehicles you said are converted?
I would roughly say 200, 300,000 vehicles.
Okay, so there's still
because
90%.
Cumulative. I'm just saying the top guys' names.
Understood. So there would be regional players, small players, etc.
Which are not even known.
And
a lot of players are mushrooming now.
Yeah. So wow, there are still 90% of just 2.6 million left to do. Plus there is a growth happening to 10x over the next 10 years.
Correct.
7 to 10 years.
And that's where I was saying it's 100 times that we need to refill within the opportunity that we have. And so there will be multiple players, and for them, we were sure that aggregation is the way forward to do. Look at it like what happened. Restaurants aggregated by Zomato. And, think of it like there's another fleet operator who had 10, 20, 100 vehicles. He still needs the service. And he still needs tech. He still needs to know how to run that ops. Demand is always there. Supply comes through them. And now if there's a right matchmaking, and that's where we come into
What is happening at the supply side?
Supply as in the vehicles.
Yeah, the vehicles production side or manufacturing side basically. How is India shaping up there overall?
See, multiple manufacturers coming on board. And of course, earlier there were no standards, gray area. People used to just bring CKDs, aggregate them, assemble them, sell it into the market. People made money, the service issues came, they could not survive, and they just wiped out. But now the market is slowly consolidating. Bigger players are also entering into the market, right? Like Activa is coming into electric, correct?
Okay.
They recently...
they are going to manufacture.
Yeah.
In India.
Yes. Wow. So people like them who are the veterans in the industry who actually built the market, correct? The leaders, they're now entering, and slowly those numbers would significantly increase. And today, if you look at it, there are smaller manufacturers, there are bigger manufacturers, but which of this vehicle is actually suitable for a last mile delivery? None. Correct? There is no purpose-driven vehicle for the last mile delivery. All these vehicles are okay for personal use case. The moment you are actually carrying load on your vehicle, and if it's not of a right quality, if it breaks down, then there is no way uh, 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 we can survive it for like next 2-3 years, even if you bring it on finance.
Hmm. How are the banks and finance companies supporting this manufacturing or aggregating, or what role do they play? Because as you said, right, 5 years back, finance companies were not a part of this sector, and it has just started to open up where they are starting to finance, such companies, electric vehicle, either OEMs or aggregators like
There are
yourself.
two ways to look at this problem, Dev. I would say one is a helping hand, and but the other side is at what cost are you getting that, right? Uh, Financing has grown significantly in the Indian market, and there is a great opportunity even here. If you just look at Samir's entity Revfin, they have funded for almost
Which one?
seven.
Sorry,
Revfin,
RevFin.
yeah, uh,
Okay.
Gurgaon based, I
They
guess, or
are
Delhi.
an EV financing
Yes, yes.
company.
They funded for 70,000 vehicles. 1,000 crore of funding went out. And in the
Just
last
for
5 years,
two-wheeler financing,
I mean, two, three, four-wheelers, all the electric vehicles.
electric vehicles.
But in the last 5 years, correct? So there's a significant opportunity for finance as well. But how many of them are actually able to underwrite the asset and give the cost of capital at a very cheaper rate?
What do you mean by underwriting?
Say this particular vehicle works for so much time, there is less risk. You know, I can fund this asset at say certain cost. These are the problems that I may get, and what way I can run this particular product. Say tomorrow it becomes NPA, will I still be able to get back, and can I get the residual value out of this vehicle? So all those understanding. So none of the financiers are able to do it at less 21% minimum. So if it is 21% reducing balance, how would startup who is bootstrapped will be able to survive?
That also he is giving the asset. I mean, he's mortgaging the asset in a sense, right?
He's mortgaging the asset.
Yeah.
There's a
So
charge that is
still
being created.
21%.
Yes, yes, yes. Minimum,
Crazy high.
minimum, and that can
Shouldn't
go
it be at the rates at which a home loan rates happen, or maybe let's say
a
a
vehicle
car
loan.
loan,
Yeah,
a
I mean,
normal
I
vehicle
think
loan?
I think there needs to be a maturity in the industry itself, because right now we're talking about a very naive industry that is just starting up, right? So the problem is financiers. Why is it so costly? It's because we're not. It's very new, right? Like I don't understand the product well. I don't know tomorrow if the customer is not paying, my capital is at risk. Correct. That's what the financiers also would think. So it's good and the bad. That's
But
where I said.
wouldn't they be able to sell the asset if the capital is at risk? Some residual value they would get, right? If the
But who is ready to buy a second hand vehicle? How would you value a second hand vehicle? Because after like decades of learning for the combustion engine vehicles, today you are able to actually create a value for the second hand vehicles. But for two wheelers or three wheelers or electric vehicle, how would you value? How would you rate a battery pack? Today, a battery pack which is used is sold the moment it is coming out of the showroom. After like 3-4 months, even if you just go try to sell it, they'll be like, give me in kgs. How much ever the weight of your battery pack is, I'll try to take it in like say so much rupees for so many kilos.
oh, it does not come at the cost or
Yes.
I mean,
So
okay.
there is again another set of understanding that you need to get about the batteries in terms of understanding the cell level information, how many cells are good, how many cells are not good, how much energy can I actually take. You need to actually trade on the energy density of that particular pack. So that is still not happening with a many cases. Example, there are only very few companies who are actually doing it, like the names of Urja Mobility, right? Who are able to understand every nuance of a battery pack, and so they are able to underwrite that particular asset category also. So a lot of development has to go. Just like the like that, there are many. It's not just Urja, but there are many. But what they're trying to do is phenomenal in the way how the financing will grow for the Indian market.
Hmm. But then I think for financing and for this electric vehicle to pick up on the supply side, demand is there as we discussed, right? But for it to pick up on the supply side, these financiers will have to play a huge role to finance OEMs, to finance aggregating companies, to finance the vehicles
Correct, correct.
in
At the
a
end, it's
yeah,
financing the
to
vehicle.
finance the vehicle, right? How much, and I believe that it would require a lot of capital. I mean, for the finance company, and there has to be mainstream finance company coming into the picture, which is someone like an HDFC Bank or a Kotak or I don't know, Incred Finance who does NBFCs and business loans and stuff like that, right? So people will have to become these mainstream finance companies will have to allocate their capital out here, right? And for them to do also a lot of support, I believe, and for manufacturing companies and OEMs to come and launch or to start their plant, a lot of support will have to come from government.
And in fact, that is happening.
What is the government doing?
So if you look at the entities like SIDBI who are doing such activities, but again, there are bottlenecks. The age of the company should be so much. Company needs to have a turnover.
Oh, okay.
Correct. And even today, if I go with the CGTMSE scheme, try to get certain funds from the government backed stuff. Yet there are certain conditions. I'm a 3-year old,
Yeah, they have
the
to.
vintage and everything. So I think the newer policy that is coming for the MSMEs, I think that will easen up the work, and entities like SIDBI will smoothen the work for the
But for
MSMEs.
electric vehicle in industry in general, what are the policies and regulation changes which the government has taken?
If you look at the vehicle level itself, earlier people used to just pack cells in series and parallel, try to make a combination.
CKD.
Yeah, they just used to bring the cells, pack it up, put it under some holders, put a nickel strip, pack it up, and then sell. No protection, no prevention, nothing. And that's why you see a lot of thermal runaway incidents happen during the 20 to 23 years.
Which incidents?
The thermal runaway is a incident when there is a fire or a smoke or
Oh,
a
okay.
blast from a
Blast
battery
in the
pack,
back.
correct?
Yeah.
And many of them lost their lives as well during those. And government took those active, all these things as serious, and then and they kind of rolled out policies around it, which are there are standards like AIS 156, and in that there are phase 1, phase 2 standards, and where the product's quality needs to be achieved at certain criteria, like having a air valve, having a smart BMS, having a remote control, having a alarm inside it, having a you know kind of water rating. So all these kind of standards in the manufacturing has come. Thereby, customer is aware, informed, alerted as in when there is certain issue with his particular asset that he holds. So that is one side, and the other one is there's been a gray area in the automotive sector, which is for the electric vehicles at least, is if the vehicle goes less than certain speed, you don't need a registration. If the vehicle goes
Yeah.
certain speed, there
30,
45, 25.
25 or 30. Yeah.
Less than 25, you don't need a registration. But it is not just restricted to the speed, correct? It is also on the product itself, like the motor. There's a power consumption for that motor. It should be less than 250 watt. But who has the energy, who has the technicality, who would see the power of a motor?
Yeah, a retail customer like someone who's just purchasing the vehicle for the vehicle or to ride around. I mean, he's not going to check all these stuff.
Absolutely. And so, people are fooled. They are like given with a battery pack that is not certified, scooter that is not certified. Tomorrow, after going on the road, the police would just say like, this is seized now.
Okay.
So the policies around the product, policies around the batteries came out really well. And in fact, it is shaping out a good standard now. And they made it safer, smoother, efficient. And the same thing goes towards the swapping infrastructure as well. There have been standards around if it is going into swapping infrastructure, there are certain standards that you need to follow. When I say swapping, it is primarily you don't charge the battery. You just take it to one of the stations. You deposit your old battery and take the newer battery. Instead of waiting for that 3-4 hours, you just do it in like 1-2 minutes.
And battery swapping can also happen when the bike is selling two batteries together, right? So, for example, as a company, you sell two batteries together. So, एक बैटरी खत्म हो जाता है तो उसको आप चार्ज पे रखो घर
That's
पे.
again a manual swap that you
Manual
have to
swap,
do.
yeah.
That's still called swapping.
Yeah, it's still called swapping, right?
Still
You
called
have two
swapping.
batteries. एक
Correct,
को आप
correct,
चार्ज
correct.
पे रखो, दूसरे को आप
Correct,
चलाने
correct,
में
correct.
लगाओ.
You are not relied on a public infrastructure, but it is your own
Yeah,
infrastructure.
it is your own, which cost of course little bit expensive to when you're
Yes,
purchasing.
but it works well for you
Hmm.
if you're running for say next 100-140 kilometers a day. So anyone who travels for more than 70 kilometers, EV is the
70.
way. 70.
More than 70
70.
per day.
EV is the way to go. Because the moment you are moving at 70, 75, you at least spend 1.5, 2 liters of fuel. Today, any average Activa would give you the same. And you're spending almost 200 rupees. If you're actually using it for, like, say, for 25 days in a month, you're actually spending 5,000 rupees on the fuel. And then there's maintenance cost. And there are insurances cost, everything around it. Now you are able to get at 5,400. Someone is maintaining it. Someone is charging it. Someone is taking care of the roadside assistance. No need of hassle, right?
Hmm. Good savings, and of course your time and energy and efforts also get saved.
You don't need to worry. After 6 months, you really don't want that vehicle. You can just give back, go for another vehicle, because the technology itself is changing. The new products will come. It's just like another smartphone for you.
Okay. Tell me about. I want to talk about from a little bit from a global point of view also, right? Of course, there was a lot of thing about China se lena hai कि नहीं लेना है, and because of the geopolitical issues also. But there are a lot of question marks on whether to everyone is purchasing these batteries and stuff, the small sensors, or I don't know whatever it's called, from China, right? But in between it was stopped, and because of that, I think a lot of there were supply constraints also. How is the situation today with China in terms of purchasing this batteries, or are we doing it in-house in India? Is it happening indigenously in India, or we are more dependent on China even today? That's one part. And second part, at a global level, how is the Indian electric vehicle market viewed from a global point of view? Because you've been to Spain, and you also, I think, travel. You've gone to these expos and everything also at a global stage. How are those guys viewing the Indian EV market? Not just from an investment point of view, in general, how are they viewing
As a product acceptance
as a
level itself.
product acceptance?
So, addressing the first point, Dev, one was around the dependency on China. Yes, make in India, make in Bharat, the campaigns are going good for economy, to position ourselves as leaders in the manufacturing side as well, right? But I think it's a little far-fetched, honestly. We are in the game, we are doing it well.
We've
Lot of
started. We've
we
taken the
started.
first step.
Correct. We've taken the first steps, but there's still a long way to go to achieve at the scale what China is doing today, right? Today, you name anything here, the mic that we're talking or using, and the chair that we're sitting, I'm 100% sure 95% of the components come from China. So dependency is still there. And it's not just for Indians, it's for the global markets. Correct? So we just started, and it's all about that consistent push that we need to have in terms of, again, being a dominant player. And we have a huge scope, given the opportunity in terms of the youth, given the opportunity in terms of demand, and in terms of utilization aspects, and the geopolitical issues that are, even more adding the spice to the dish, right? So that way businesses have to run. Because of some issue, the things can't
Trade
stop.
cannot stop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the trade has to happen, trade should continue. And that's creating even more demand to start more things locally. And that's how, if you look at it, some of the biggest collaborations, Amar Raja now going into the battery manufacturing, correct? In the lithium ion space. All this while it was into lead acid side, and maybe LFP also.
Now they are doing lithium ion.
Lithium ion, LFP, all of them, they are getting
They've
into.
already started, na, long
Yeah,
time.
they started.
Amar
They got
Raja
the
and even the
Goshen,
no, the other from E. What is it called?
Log 9.
No, from E. Amar Raja, and there are two top battery.
Exide.
Exide. Yeah.
Yeah. All of them are moving slowly into that, because lead acids is phased out.
That was switched off. Phased
And
out.
so the same way now log 9 is there. They're bringing in newer technology, lithium titanium oxide. Who have heard of it, right? Now think about Exponent Energy. There are a lot of players who are coming in trying to build their own battery packs, and for the world. High speed, rapid charge, this, that, and etc. Now, if you look at how are these products being accepted in the global market, one of the recent examples is, have you ever tried tested ultraviolet vehicle? You have to definitely do. It's one beautiful vehicle that our Indian ecosystem has bought out in the
What is
electric.
it? What is
It's
it?
a I would say it's a high speed ultra high speed, like 150, 200 kmph wala way.
KMPH. Wow.
And it's that sporty look. It's with that crazy design and beautiful.
Why is it electric?
Yeah, it's an electric vehicle. So it's just one of them. There are many other products that are coming out. But recently they launched it in Milan, and there's a great response that they got. That's what I've heard. And so it's again, as I said, we are just starting, and the products will be looked in a different way. And the products that we bring to India from China are like grade C, grade D. If you look at it, there are the grade,
Quality-wise.
yeah, the grade one kind of products which are actually sold to the European market or which are sold to the Southeast Asian markets. They're still wonderful products, but just
Who is
us,
selling them?
the same Chinese manufacturers,
Oh, okay.
the same Chinese
But
manufacturers.
why does India buy then grade C, grade D kind of quality?
I buy it at 30,000 rupees, I sell it at lakh rupee. I need to make more money, the greed of making quick money.
Okay.
So that's the problem. And that's why if you look at it, there are almost 120, 130 plus two-wheeler manufacturers. Almost everyone shut down their shops the moment government imposed certain sanctions on them, saying that your quality has to be at this level. Only then you'll survive. The moment someone is selling the same vehicle at 30,000 wala vehicle at 80,000 rupees, now he has to increase. That means his production quality has to increase. His assembly lines have to increase. The cost of imports would increase. So a lot of factors. A lot of things are interlinked to each other.
But do you think in the next 5 to 7 years, to complete this decarbonization or to even do 10% of the decarbonization of 26 million two-wheeler, if I have to just count two-wheeler, engine-based vehicles to electric vehicles, do you think in the next 5 to 7 years we will still be majorly dependent on China for our raw materials? We might set up a assembly line here. Of course, when I say an assembly line for the users also, it is like just a line where you have to do it comes completely knocked down and you just have to mold it and try to create the final product. So you're not manufacturing it. You're not manufacturing the entire product, nor the raw materials, nor the, you're not putting the entire vehicle together.
Correct.
Right? But
Like the typical automobile industry works.
yeah,
right?
yeah. So you're not doing that. You're just doing you're just doing the finalization of assembly and packaging it and selling it. So do you think that we will be able to, get a good market share of manufacturing of electric vehicle, two-wheeler vehicles in India, which can, of course, we can also do a lot of exports of that, the two-wheeler. Would that happen in the next 5 to 7 years, or will still be majorly dependent on China?
I would say it's a ambitious and audacious goal, to reduce down our dependency on China. But that's the whole intent of on everyone who is working towards that, right? But I believe we still will be dependent on China heavily because the mindset also there's a change, right? Like if you look at it, Tesla, like now they've moved into instead of having a full-fledged factory towards someone is actually manufacturing parts and someone is actually preparing the rest of the products. I'll assemble it and then sell it. Correct? Micro industries have started. So these micro industries are the way forward as well. Like the moment you dissect the entire problem, you are able to solve it quicker and quicker. So that's how the manufacturing is supposed to go, and the dependencies will be there. Here, why am I still saying the dependencies are going to be there? Is because you can only achieve the marginal benefits on the product only when it is at a scale. To achieve that scale, you need to have so many players who are dependent on you, correct? And there's both the sides now, and that's where you are going to go towards a cheaper option than a costlier option. So today, if I'm actually developing one of the IoT product, it's going to be super costly for me, and the same kind of a feature set, someone else can do it at 1/10, 1/20th of the price. So I would rather prefer there than with me, correct? And and where the businesses like leasing or rentals itself is a thin marginal business, or a logistics itself is a thin margin business. The moment all these costs add up, it doesn't work at the unit economy level.
Mm-mm. Got it. I would want to understand that, but in the coming questions. But again, coming back to the world dynamics, how is the world looking at India in the EV space?
Everyone is eager, everyone is betting on India that it's going to be another hub of manufacturing, great products coming out. And many of them are in fact setting up their stations here in India. Example, the Telangana Mobility Valley, right? Bosch has set up its center of excellence. The battery manufacturers set up their center of excellence. A lot of guys, there is almost 3 pockets of the city are completely into electric mobility side: the manufacturing, testing, validation, certification, right? And all those things are happening in that area. So like that, there are many pockets that are going to come in India, and everyone is eyeing at India to be the next hub of manufacturing.
Interesting. So there would be a lot of capital inflow also when
100%.
when they
Yes.
see India as a manufacturing hub.
In fact, if you look at many Chinese big giants, right? Say CATL. CATL sister concern Ampace is setting up its factory in India in 250 acres. Right? So it's not a small project. And so billions and billions of dollars are going to be flowing into India as FDIs, and there's going to be a lot of impact on the economy as well.
Coming to your business model, okay, this is something which I think will be very interesting for the viewers also. Tell us, how does Hala work? How do you make money? How do you charge your customers, and what is your core product? What is your core proposition? Tell us something about that.
So all this while, whatever we have done is primarily somewhere or other we own the vehicle. Correct. The initial 200 vehicles we bought it. Yeah. So whatever monies we made is something we try to extract more from that vehicle. Number two is we have gone to lease to own structure. So that is something we finance indirectly there are. But later, last June onwards, we completely moved into aggregating structure, where we partnered with companies like Electrics, Log9, and all. We bring those vehicles. There is demand. All this demand and supply we map, and the companies pay for these vehicles, and uh, they utilize these vehicles. The money that is paid here is gone to them. Now there is additional amount that the companies pay us for doing this.
Can you
service.
take some example? Let's take that if 100 rupees is coming. Can you break it down from 100 rupee and
Sure.
explain
So
the model?
the example in the case of BigBasket, say suppose
BigBasket.
BigBasket,
Okay.
and there is a company called Electrics here,
Okay, which is the OEM.
or vehicle as a service provider. He's a fleet owner, say.
They are the fleet owner. Okay.
Okay.
Not the manufacturer.
Manufacturer.
Huh.
And say BigBasket says, okay, Shrikant, I need one vehicle in the swapping ecosystem, and this. Let me know what is that, and then he'll give me all the feature set. All of that requests are going to all my players here, whoever holds the vehicles, like Electrics 1, Electrics 2, Electrics 3.
But you will filter at your end, कि अच्छा, whoever matches these 5 criterias, I should be sending only to those vendors
Correct.
who can supply with
Correct,
those 5
correct,
criterias.
correct.
Not to, if there are 20 vendors, I cannot send to all 20.
Not 20,
but out of
because
20,
doesn't make any sense, right? Like
Got it.
if they can't cater this particular
got
product.
it. ठीक है.
So this particular vendor says, okay, I'm selling it at 4,000 rupees. And now BigBasket pays 4,000 rupees, finish. For doing this, there's a management fee that BigBasket pays to me. So that's what we make.
What is that percent? Or
It
that
depends
amount?
on entity to entity. Anywhere it goes from 5% to 10%.
Okay.
depends.
This is on every transaction.
Every transaction.
So it's a transaction fee in short that
Yes.
you collect.
We collect that transaction
5
fee.
to 10% of whatever the transaction is, and that transaction will be a rental transaction. Is this deal between BigBasket and this company a monthly deal?
It's a monthly deal. Yes.
It's a monthly rental deal.
Monthly rental deal.
So you make the transaction fee every month.
Every month. So
Okay, got it.
the supplier will get his money which he has demanded for. Nothing would I charge from there, but I charge it from the source who is actually utilizing this.
So BigBasket has to bear that 5% or 10% extra over and above the monthly rent.
Correct. What is the benefit that BigBasket is getting? BigBasket doesn't need to give me any commitment of utilizing this vehicle for the next 12, 13, 14 months.
Okay.
Correct? So I keep on bringing the supply active, fresh, and it gets replenished. But the set of assets here are going to be the same.
What if, BigBasket approaches that company directly?
Now, BigBasket approaches them. And there are like multiple such companies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 19. Now, BigBasket needs to handle with 10 different dashboards, 10 different entities, 10 different service points, 10 different networks. Now, it's a single point of contact. For them, the operational overhead is gone.
They can see everything on your dashboard.
Yes. In fact,
Whether
whoever the player is.
owner is.
So one is the transaction fee, two is the data layer, three is the ad monetization that we're going to do later on the real estate side, where the vehicles are parked in our hub. Say we have a network called S3, which is called Service Cum Swapping Station. Okay. The Service Cum Swapping Station holds a service guy, the charging, and the swapping infra. So I place this infrastructure strategically based on the data points that I collect, based on the demand and based on the supply, based on the usage, based on the geography, terrain, a lot of factors. And now, the moment I'm able to set up that, and there are swapping players who will come and set up their shop without any added additional cost for them, and there is a strict utilization, I charge a real estate fee there. So I make money from that particular transaction. So it's a mixture of real estate, a mixture of mobility.
Real estate is something which will kick in now.
Yeah. That again, we wanted to validate, prove if it will work or no. So that's where we started S3s by ourselves. 7 S3 network in Hyderabad, and it's anywhere around 35,000 SFT.
How much of your own capital had you all put from start till today in this business?
2.2
You and
crores.
the other...
Me and other co-founders, 2.2 crores. And then in March 2022, we raised our first pre-seed round, which is 3.6 crore. And with that, we grew 3x again. We raised the seed round, concluded the seed round as an extension, and with another 3 crores, where Funny Ramineni joined us. And after Funny Ramineni, founder of Privia Health. And the next round, which was recent, we closed at 51 crore, mixture of equity plus debt. It's nothing with the VCs. It's purely HNIs, angels, ultra HNIs.
Got it. Tell me about, since you've brought this topic, I was going to ask you, but tell me about this investment thing, right? We were just talking before the shoot that you took 14 months and it was hell lot of a ride, a roller coaster ride to close at least this one, this 51 crore round, right? It's a massive amount, 51 CR, right? What was that journey of 14 months, because अगर वो पैसा तब नहीं आता है, because you must have planned 14 months back, you started planning, you started making all your stuff to start pitching, you must have started pitching, so you needed that money 14 months before, right? वो पैसा आज आया, so what happened in those 14 months, how did you really manage without that money actually flowing in which you wanted it at that point in time? And it so happens that you want that thing today, पर वो आज नहीं मिलता है. So how do you manage that आज? And you're going to receive that money after 14 months.
When we actually started working for the funding, it was somewhere in the month of August. 23. We closed our round in May, and we had some capital already there with us because 3 crores we closed in 2023 only, right? And we had capital that our runway was till say April of 2024. Okay. August onwards we started the thing because
That's a very interesting thing that you brought it up. Before you just continue, I think it's very important for all startups to understand that if you have a runway till maybe today, what we are in November 24, if you feel that you have a runway till probably May 25 or April 25, next 5 to 6 months, you need to start your fundraising exercise today itself.
Correct.
Very important, because most of the founders, they come danke ki chot pe. Matlab, they come at the last moment. Correct. That now we are exhausted.
Let me go find.
Yeah, we need to now and they become so desperate.
And at that time, the other party would try to extract as much as possible.
Yeah, they'll extract. Number one, if they like it very much, they'll extract. Number two, most of them, it's, if you're chasing them so desperately, they try to shoo you off, right? Because it becomes too desperate. Okay, we are at the last stage you're coming, then you also don't have any power, and it becomes very dirty to work with those kind of founders also, right? It becomes difficult. You're chasing so much. So I feel that this is a very valid point. Every founder should keep this in mind.
At least 14 to 18 months ka runway, then you need to start your action already. That's what I feel, because
the process, not even 6 months, 14 months.
Because the entire process itself will take 6 months. If some VC, some angel, some HNI, or some family office is coming on board, For them to complete the process of having a conversation, second conversation, follow-on conversation, IC meetings, then going into the board,
Due
due
diligence.
diligence, and all these things would take time. And after the due diligence, the money hitting into your accounts, post-transaction activities, right? And
Compliance and all.
compliance angles, all these things would take at
6
least
months.
6 months. And it's a journey. Investor is not going to just put money, right? It's you need to build that relation. He needs to trust you. Some random guy you're going and talking, sir, give me some money, for him to understand you. And so it takes. And so what I think is at least 14 to 18 months or 16 to 18 months you need to have money, so that you're in another, peace of mind, and then you're still working on it.
मतलब business भी
Rather,
चल रहा है.
whatever we discuss now will happen, correct? And so we had enough money for till April or something. I started with the show in August, reaching out to people. There's good commitments, huh? On the paper, I had almost like $10 million ka fund.
You didn't reach out to us, by the way.
I will. Now for the follow on, for the series A round, I'm going to come back for sure. We got good commitments, $10 million fund. PwC came into picture. They were evaluating us because as an early stage startup, you don't know how to deal with big fours, right? And it was something new for us. PwC, working with PwC, working with KPMG, and we were like, boss, something is happening. It's gonna work. Term sheets rolled out. The due diligence started. The discussion started. We went to Dubai to meet them.
अच्छा, the investor was Dubai based.
Yes, yes. So it's a US based, but then fortunately they were in Dubai, and we went there. 4 of the partners were there, and it's so the entire fund was having for almost 12 partners or something. Big fund. They used to heavily invest into African market. India was something new. So if they invested, we would be the first company to be on their portfolio from India. So that's something. And then we spent time. They wanted to bring Big Four because they wanted to understand Indian market, because that's the first investment. All done, dusted. By the time everything was finalized on paper, by the time we are doing the definitive agreements at the end of the shareholder, at that time the terms changed, because they knew now the the amount that is left in our accounts is really less, and they know that they are going to come down. So they made the deal into 5 plus 5 million, 5 million debt, 5 million equity. We are like, okay, debt is still needed when someone is actually giving me at lesser price. Why would I not go? So we said yes, because it was a favorable condition. But then that came with an attached clause saying that your debt will not come at a cost decided today. It's a single bullet payment after 2 years, and the rate will be decided based on the market price that day. And I can't play blind. That's gone out of the equation. And number 2 is, if we don't achieve the projections that were given, then I need to give another 25% more shares as mortgage, which would reflect bad on the future VCs whom we are going to target to. Mortgaging shares is not a right thing to do. Now, it's not about will we achieve or no. It's a kind of pressure. It was not welcoming, correct? You always want to achieve your targets, over deliver, then ask for more money, correct? But that
This
kind
was
of
like binding you completely and keeping them under your control.
correct. And Upar say it was 4 more directors coming on board. We were 3, and 4 more directors coming at the stage where we are. So it's kind of someone having the complete control over us. So it was not kind of a welcoming thing. We had to cut down the offer on Jan 21, 2024. From there, things turned upside down. We came to a point where we're like, let's just shut down. At least 10, 15 startups who are in the mobility space, if you ask them, they'll be like, oh, Hala, they're doing bad. Oh, Hala, वहाँ पे talent है, let us go poach them because now they are not able to pay salaries. And we were at one point let's shut it off. It's not happening. At one point of a time, we had to take 60 lakh rupees of losses a month. Why? Because after 3 years, the battery stopped working, and the financial liability was still on us, and all those kind of issues. The cost of capital was at 33% IRR, 29% IRR, because all the deals that we did on day 1 or day 0 were at the higher cost of capital. All this compounded, and they were becoming heavy on the company side. And one point of a time, when me and Snehit sat down, we spoke to our family, and fortunate, we are privileged at least, we had that backing, and that's why we survived. And many startups die because they don't have that fund for the survival. And today we are sitting talking here about the Series A closure. I truly think that we're privileged. We have that kind of a support. That's why we could come to this point at least. Naito, who would bear a 60 lakh rupee loss, correct? Without zero. Like I have seen 4 times at least zero balance in the account. And I don't know how to pay the salary for the employees next.
What did you tell the employees at that point? What was the thing going on?
I would say it's also about the team, right? Who are understanding at that point of a time. I said, like, guys, I think in the entire history of 39 months, never did we delay the payment. Like the payout used to go. And they understood. They were like, okay, at least the core team members, they came forward and say, like, we'll go talk to the teams, but what is that we can do? So some people said, okay, we're gonna not take the salary for a couple of months. Some people said we'll cut down the salaries for, say, I'm taking 10,000 rupees salary, take only 5,000. So even the service engineers came forward with that intent. That was such a heartwarming thing where it's not just a employer or employee kind of a relation, but here it's kind of everyone is working towards it. And that's where when I said, if what's what I mean, what's wrong in giving them a equity when someone like that is giving whole and soul to it, right? And let them also grow with you. And things like this happened. We had like long discussions in terms of what to do, what not to do. Now, how do we come out of it? And so me and Snehit, we took a conscious call. We pumped in 14 crore rupees so that the overheads of all the finances moves down, right? And that way we cut down 47 lakhs of burn month on month basis. Then
This was your own family capital or
family
something?
capital, yes. And then during this time, we also got, because the activity was going in a aggressive manner, the results were seen by the investors, and we got smaller checks, 50 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees. So like that, we pulled in good amount of fund, and that enabled us to stay further in the tackling that burn. And by the time everything came into control, and today we are at positive cash flows by 14 lakh rupees a month, and
That's EBITDA positive of 14 lakh.
net positive.
Net positive.
Net positive after depreciation, after interest, everything.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's when people started looking at us in a different way. Okay, these guys are like can crack the stuff at any given point of a time. My money is safe. That's the confidence investors got, and to be honest, in this round, people came with a profit sharing model where they wanted to test the water. One, at the same time, ensure that the company grows. Thereby, I take the benefit. Of course, I help the company with a huge capital. Give me some benefit at the end. That's business. And now, 3 family offices came forward and they formed a special purpose vehicle. They onboarded the vehicles to us, and that vehicles will give us a visibility. That vehicles will give us the higher revenues, top lines, and the bottom lines, and that will enable us to go to a Series A check. That's how the entire round was closed. Crazy
That's
journey.
a crazy ride. I think
Sleepless nights. Like,
oh my God.
in fact, I put on weight in this last 14 months.
Hmm.
I used to be lean.
I'm getting goosebumps.
I put on weight because of the stress. No sleep. You used to sleep like 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day. You don't know next day how do you pay the salaries. It's 114 people who are dependent on you. And the amount of pressure, like one side it's your family, other side family, in the sense it's not something family is dependent on me, but tomorrow something goes wrong,
They're
the
going to blame
respect
you.
reputation of the family also, correct?
Yeah. And they're going to always, you will always have that at the back of your head.
Yeah.
I let them
So
down.
all those things used to happen. Crazy. Yeah. And then today, touchwood, things are going fine, and it would grow. It would go fine, and we have a visibility for the next 10,000, 15,000 vehicles. We do have enough cash.
Now, of course, you have enough cash with 51 crore raising.
Yeah.
How much is equity out of that?
It's 7 crores is equity. 14 crores come from me and Snehit, where we kind of did the balance transfer activity. We reduced down the burn. That money saved is money earned. Yeah. So then we have 30 crore rupees that came through the profit sharing model.
Got it. Very interesting. I think this would be your most challenging time of the company. Yeah. Most challenging.
We had like 36 months of honeymoon period. I mean, we had struggles, but those were not kind of, the brink. We will die kind of situation. We were on a ventilator for a long time. like somehow we survived. Today, when we look back, we are like, man, what happened? Do you know what happened? Like, so many stories to share, and it's super lonely. Trust me, it's super lonely. You can't go and talk about it with someone, nor they can help. It's only that emotional support you will get, and that's more than enough, honestly, at that point of a time. And thankful to all the family members, friends who were there in the thick and thins, man. Like, oh,
I can see the expression in your face,
like
and
literally, like many people
you're
die
you're
because of it.
reliving that
Many
moments.
people die just because of this kind of situations, like the startups. Why do they fail? Because they're not able to manage their cash flows right. And that is one hard lesson that we learned is, man, it's not about valuation. It is not about how many shows you appear in, how many episodes you do, how many newspapers you are there. It's all about, is your company cash rich? Is your company profitable? Is your company sustainable by itself? Can it make money for the survival? Finish. Not depending on any external money. I
Uh,
mean, external money is needed 100%
yeah,
for the
to
growth.
expand and to grow, it is
Yes,
needed. Of course, there is
but
no
not for the
doubt.
survival.
Not for survival. And that is where the planning of fundraising matters a lot. That how soon that you plan.
Planning, budgeting, planning for the fundraise, utilizing that in the wise manner, because many a times we become complacent the moment money is there, right? We start try to do new stuff which is not even in the scope of our work, just to explore. And we'll think, yeah, ho jayega sab kuch, but then that ho jayega might take a wrong way.
Very good. I think very interesting. This is a story of a fighter, who tried to figure out सारा कुछ किया, सारे methods apply किए, but to make sure that the company survives, all employees are paid, whatever their dues are, all financiers are paid, etc., right? But
No remark on my CIBIL, no remark with the investors, no remark with the employees, no remark with my funders like the financiers. You know, compliance is also paid to date. So I'm corporate. I'm in the governance level also. I'm good.
very good. I think that is the strong integrity which it showcases that as a founder, and we've seen so many cases of bad integrity, those founders failing. People who have built unicorn and people who have really built large companies, but because of wrong integrity, because of bad compliance, companies have failed.
Companies have failed.
They had the funding, they had the money, they had the best talent probably, but not complying, and bad governance has pulled the company down. But even in these difficult times, you managed to maintain that. You had your head in that right direction कि नहीं ये तो करना ही है सही तरीके से. It cannot happen without it. I think kudos.
One example I would love to
Yeah,
share
yeah,
here
please.
is because why corporate governance or the aspect of it is very important during these tough times. One thing I realized, the moment you are not paying your PF, PT, the basic things, right? Then you are not eligible for any of your loans at least. Investment तो छोड़ दो, कोई आया नहीं आया shareholder, but you are not even eligible for lending money from the bankers, right? They'll ask, was your first finish your compliance part of it, then come back to us. So
Yeah,
that's more
absolutely.
important is what I would
Absolutely, yeah. From a practical point of view, also it's required. तब जाके बैंक भी लोन देगा.
even if you give collateral, to disburse that money, that will like, sir, PF to pay karke aa jao, give me the challans.
So, we were talking about that this is a operationally and manpower driven heavy business, basically. You need feet on the ground. Coming from a coming from a tech background, getting into this kind of a business would, of course, be a, 360-degree turn, basically. How do you manage these people? Tell me about the business side of it, the operational side of it. What does it take to manage such a large fleet? I believe now you have 3,000 vehicles, and you're planning for 10,000 more, 6,000 more, 10,000, right? So this is going to be like super extensive fleet. How do you manage these people, and what it takes for a person to really take care of them in a good manner? Because as we were discussing before the shoot, they're not treated well. You have to really take good care of them, and plus you have to manage them at a business level ताकि customer को भी impact ना आए negatively कि यार time पे नहीं पहुंच रहा है या whatever it is, right? What does it take as a founder?
Being a good mathematician works here. There are set formulas already, right? Like today, if you look at it, the bigger kind of an asset, airlines. correct? Airlines have been in the same asset heavy kind of a business, capital intensive business, but there are certain principles that they follow in terms of how do I maintain my asset, what is the crew, what is the infra that I need, what is the maintenance that I need. Though ACMI principles is something people have to follow, and this is common across any asset category, right? It can be real estate, it can be this particular asset category also. Now, now dealing with people, again, that side of the story, we had our own learning curve, correct? Because it is something on an emotional side of it. It is like you personally connect with them. You need to understand where they're coming from. Yes, yes, because everyone has a different story. Trust me, during the pandemic time, I had teachers who came and worked as delivery boys. Yeah, like we did not want to do that. Like we had, because it was a very small fleet, right? We started with 20 odd fleet, and that was in November 2020. We were in the cellar. Fortunately, all my community members also supported us in running that show. Chalo karke dikha kuch bhi. So we when we interacted, there were teachers, there were professionals, engineers, lot of them, and now the other side of it, they did not have money to survive during that time, and they wanted to do that job. That is one side. And then the companies do not pay us on time, correct? There's a credit period for everything, and usko handle karna padega. Lot of challenges in terms of understanding each of them, their problem, trying to solve a piece for them. And I think we had our own learning curve in this particular angle. Again, Snehit coming with a strong operation strategy background, because his earlier venture was into food tech. It was primarily kind of say organic food, one basket karke. It's on a higher side. It's little costly. It's premium. It's only for the top of the pyramid customers. And his day-to-day job was to go meet, talk to the farmers, understand their problem. How to onboard them onto the platforms like this, because they are not aware of platforms
So
like this.
he was doing that
People wala thing,
people
yes,
wala
early.
thing earlier.
And also before that, working in a ITES kind of a sector, handling people was always his thing, right? And he's emotionally, mentally understands the other party well. And that's the strength he could bring onto the table, right? Like more than ops and more than bringing down, okay, this tool, that tool, this methodology, that methodology, but log ko samajhna is very much important in a sector like ours. So I think that's one good strength he could bring and try to streamline things for us. Even not just the direct customer, middlemen who are dealing with the people there, right? They also have their own personal issues. Now, you are trying to solve someone else's thing. There are always ups and downs, and how do you handle those team to ensure it goes right on the ground, right? Like if he misbehaves with the ground, and there are a lot of other people who are going to be seeing this as an example. So maintaining the balance between them is also very much important.
Hmm. How are these gig workers who work, right? How much do they make currently versus how much were they making, in their previous jobs or whatever jobs that they were doing? And what is their typical, they come from a low income family is what I understand, but how have their lives or their standard of living improved? And this is not just in case for Hala perspective, but just these gig workers who are riding any two-wheeler vehicle for the last mile delivery. How has it improved? You can talk from your example and give a proper example as to, okay, an ex worker was making this much money, and now how much are they making?
So if you look at the way it is going, the last mile delivery space, because of the need, because of the demand, because of the requirement, people are moved from the rural areas to the urban areas to give them a job opportunity and everything. They were running their vehicles, on the petrol vehicles. It was all fine. Although they used to make 25,000 rupees of money, same kind of an earning. Earning did not increase much, but the saving increased. They used to spend, say, when the fuel was around 70, 80 rupees, it was all good. The moment it topped to 110, 115, 120, today 103 or something, people are like, no, it is not making any sense for me. Because for them to survive in that particular city, they need another 10,000 rupees. Their family is living in some other village. They'll need another 10, 15,000 rupees to survive there. Now, major expenses going towards the maintenance of this vehicle. So, significant, at least 9 to 10,000 rupees that he was spending on a vehicle earlier, because he runs at 100, 120 kilometers a day. He works 30 days a month, only one or two Sundays, chhod dijiye, 28 days average. So For that amount of time he runs, he needs at least 300 rupees of expense every day. If you are able to cut it down to 150, 200 brackets, tops, then he's at least saving 33% to 40% every month. Average blended cost for us today, the saving comes to 48% per delivery boy that we saved. And that's the earning indirectly that he has, that he can enjoy and sell it, give it out to his family. This is one part of the problem we could solve. But still, there is much more. And that's where the concept of blue base that I'm pitching, just now I was talking about, is what we wanted to implement. Is today he's saving, he's earning, that's all his side of it. But what are companies like us, companies like others, are able to, give a helping hand for them, right? They are stacked in a place where there is 120 SFT. We are sitting in at least what, 1500 SFT. There's 100 SFT where 6 people sleep, change their clothes, stay, and they have their own personal belongings there. And in that space, you're asking them to charge a vehicle, keep it. How does it even work? And they don't know when they're going to eat, when they're going to sleep, when they're going to have their meal, correct? So all these aspects, if we are able to give them at a subsidized price. And there's a lot of food wastage in many of the cloud kitchens. There are spaces that can be actually rented out for all these people. Just look at it like what we're doing with the asset that is underutilized, if we can utilize the same way with the other assets. The same thing is what we want to do with the blue base. If people are stacked with the same place, the vehicle and the charging and everything, and this blue base is given as an option to many other companies. Zomato, Swiggy, Zepto, all of them can consume the people here. Cross utilize the same shift. Less number of vehicles, more utilization, more revenue for the people here. People are safe, taken care here. They are happy. See, why you okay? Why is this industry has such a high attrition rate? Is because there's no defendability, dependability, or customer loyalty towards this industry. Why? Because someone gives it a cheaper thing, they'll go. Now, how do you win that loyalty factor with him? Only when he's taken care of. And is this coming with an extra cost? Really not. Within the same bracket he's spending, if you're able to take care of him, by little thinning down on the margin, but increase your volumes, everything works beautiful. I'd say the same 7,000 cost, you can give the same room, same food across the 2 shifts, give the bunker beds, place them there. Things would work beautiful. And that's how we are starting the first blue base in Hyderabad, a society called Madhapur, where that's where we are starting up one. So we bought in recent partnerships with Tikana and 100N. So they give us the food, they give us the space, respectively, and
very good, interesting concept. I think this is a value addition for the workers.
Why
for
do
for
they
the
have
riders.
to stick with us? What businesses come to us because 95% uptime. Now, the moment I'm creating the stickiness of drivers or users with me, it's more attractive for companies because their hiring costs are going to go down.
Very good. Okay. I had read and that you are also having 2 other new startups or companies that you've worked upon. I would want to understand what you are doing there.
So, during the entire journey, again, we wanted to be a tech company, but then we moved into an operational intensive business. Now we are loving it. Now we are loving to solve that particular piece of it, and we wanted to continue so that, it's all going good. We all see a direction there as well, right? But how do I kind of extract the value of technology from this operational heavy intense game? So we kind of split that into Circle OS, which was the product that we built to power Hala. So Circle OS is that predictive analytics tool that not just gives you the vehicle side of it, the driver side of it, the battery side of it, the hub side, the infra understanding as well. Which hub works how, what is the utilization, and what is the revenue that each of this hub is making, where are the vehicles, how are they distributed.
So is it a software or something?
It's a software. It's a software.
It's a software which will be given to your partners. To the either the vendors who are supplying the vehicles. Correct. Or to the customer like a BigBasket, or to the financing company,
all of them.
or to the rider. And to you guys also at a company level.
And they will be able to track, trace, monitor, control, understand, deploy, redeploy, ensure that their efficiencies go super smooth, Correct? Everything can happen through
So this
one
tech
point.
platform you have built in-house, which is
Yes,
the
yes.
product that you guys have built,
Yes.
and that is deployed at a company level for Hala.
At an entity level, Hala. Now, because we have the Hala Plus coming into picture, we wanted to have this separately split so that every Hala Plus stakeholder will get access to this, and that's how the revenues can be booked there for the software side, and Hala would run its leasing entity. And now there's a lot of data that we churn every day in day out by running operations on Hala leasing platform, correct, or Hala's EV as a service platform. Now, those vehicles, after a certain period, plus 3 years or plus 2 years, the vehicle becomes dead and it has to go into the scrap phase. So, what we're trying to say is with the data that we generate from here, instead of going to a scrapping phase, you can refurbish that battery, refurbish that scooter, because the battery pack doesn't become zero at the end of the tenuity, right? It can still be reused in the automotive space provided it's refurbished with the set conditions, set standards that that are provided by the industry, the leadership. Now, if you are able to rebuild that, you will at least extract 50 to 60% from the battery packs. That means every 100 batteries, you can still extract 50 batteries that are fit for the automotive space, rest of which you can discard it for the stationary environment. So what we're trying to do here, everything we are moving into the stationary environment. That is not feasible. So 11 will refurbish those batteries and scooters, and that's how a circular economy for mobility is created. You have one tech, one leasing, one refurbishing. That's how the entire system.
And the tech and the refurbishing will be for other electric vehicle companies also. Yeah. So you're going to
The
sell.
moment it is with Hala, people will look at it as competitor doing it. But the moment it is separate,
So the tech software platform also that you're building is
open for everyone.
Oh, it is a EV as a service
Correct.
or a subscription based.
Subscription based. So tomorrow, some Hala Plus, there are stakeholders 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It says someone comes with 10 vehicle capacity, 100 vehicle. They all can utilize Hala separately. Oh, sorry, Circle separately. And 11 would be utilized. 11 is a Dutch word basically. It's not 11, it's 11. So 11, it's a Dutch word. It means afterlife, rebirth. So it's kind of new life you're giving to the battery. That's how we named it. And circle is typically representing the whole circular economy thing, and that's why it's circle. Not we again used a French slang to it, circle than circle.
Coming to the last bit of it, which is the rapid fire. All right. So be quick, be rapid. First question. One advice to first time founders.
Start executing things.
Second, one reason you're better than your competition.
We are smart. We can do things that are acceptable for the customers. Quality over quantity.
And third one, how do you ensure your gig workers are delighted at Hala?
They're taken care of. They are taken care of. A home away from their home.
Wonderful. That's very well said. My last question is, what is your vision for Hala going forward? In the next 5 years, where do you see Hala?
I want to have at least the next 200, 300,000 vehicles going through us, right? Like the next 10%, 3%, 2%, whatever we're talking about. In fact, the 200,000, given the 26 deadlines, whatever we have, it's a 1% contribution. I need to be that 1% contribution at least in this entire journey.
For next 5 years?
Yes.
Interesting. So you want to at least have 200,000.
200,000 assets onboarded. And then, I'm able to solve a major problem that is for the gig workers. At the same time, trying to be part of that, decarbonization. Because we never wanted to come here. Like, we never wanted to be in this space. But we have tried solving the problem and we are here. Let's try it, let's solve it for a bigger thing. Else we would have been just one software company building solutions,
Interesting. Wonderful. I think, very, very interesting episode, very, very interesting learnings from you about the hard work, about the perseverance, about, utilizing your skill sets, but in a different manner, little bit. Not always it is necessary that what you have learned and what you have been educated in, you just do that only throughout your career. You can definitely take some pivots. And this is a wonderful example of a very strong pivot, But
If you allow me, I have something to say.
Please.
One-liner, not
Please.
one.
Please.
Also, something important in the journey is to start unlearning. You can learn whatever, you can go to your PhDs, double PhDs, postdocs and everything, or you may have like wonderful 10 years of your own experience in terms of building something, but something unlearning is the better thing that you can do, because there's always a lot more to learn, and that's where the pivoting comes into.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think imagine that being a PhD and then coming on the ground and working with gig workers. So it's such a vast gap, right? That you have studied something and then you're working with gig workers who are not educated, who might not have so much of knowledge as you have, who might not have so much of education, no education rather, right? So that is the unlearning that probably you did to implement this
Yes.
business model or to implement this at this scale that you're doing. Wonderful to have you here,
It's my
Shrikant.
privilege. Thanks
I
for
think
inviting me
thank
again.
you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a
Lovely.
lot.